The patient's hand is placed on the support some distance away from her body. Her shoulder girdle is lifted and supported under the axilla by the therapist. Patient moves her trunk well over her supporting arm, transferring most of her weight onto the affected hip. This elongates the side flexors of the trunk on that side and brings the shoulder up and vertically over her hand. To avoid internal rotation, her hand should point sideways or even diagonally backwards but not forward, and be flat on the support with her fingers extended. When the patient can keep her elbow extended without help, some downward pressure can be given to her shoulder to increase extensor activity and stability. He is then asked to perform small selective movements of her elbow. If flexor spasticity is very strong, it can be inhibited by moving her arm backward in extension and full external rotation. The therapist is now behind the patient. The patient's hand is supported with her wrist extended. In order to keep the shoulders level and to prevent the sound shoulder from moving forward, the sound hand can be held in the same way at the same time, so that both arms are extended backwards. Patient will move slowly forward and backward. And side to side at the hips. This produces good extension of the spine and also of the arms. Gentle alternating push and pull will stimulate active extension. Forward. This can be followed either by placing her affected hand sideways on the support or by lifting her extended arm sideways up, continuing to give a gentle pull and push. Patient may need some support at the elbow.
The patient's arm is supported by the therapist with his elbow extended and in external rotation. The patient's head should be laterally flexed towards the sound side. She uses both hands to move his shoulder girdle upwards, forward, and downward, but avoids moving it backwards as this reinforces retraction of the scapula. If shoulder retraction is very strong, the procedure can be done in side lying on the sound side. The shoulder girdle is then more easily brought forward. And again, she uses both hands to move his shoulder girdle upwards, forward, and downward, but avoids moving it backwards as this reinforces retraction of the scapula. Another way of mobilizing the shoulder girdle is to extend the patient's arm above her head. With her hand held firmly in this position, the arm in external rotation. She is then asked to turn over into side and prone lying. When resistance to moving the shoulder girdle is no longer present, the therapist gradually raises the extended arm into bind, using some traction and keeping the shoulder well forward. At the first indication of shoulder pain, the upward movement must be stopped and the arm slightly lowered again. The arm is then slowly moved up again until full elevation has been obtained without pain. As soon as there is no resistance to the arm in full elevation, the patient is encouraged to extend her elbow actively while her hand is still supported in extension. She is asked to push upwards against the therapist's hand. Alternate small movements of flexion and extension at the elbow are practiced to obtain selective movements of the elbow. When the patient is able to do this, the therapist releases her hand and the patient tries to keep the arm up unaided and then to move it a little at the shoulder without letting it fall sideways or forward and down. At first, the therapist may have to keep the shoulder forward to stabilize the shoulder girdle. The patient should learn to arrest the downward movement of her arm at any intermediate stage, and from these points, lift the arm up again. In the end, the patient should be able to lift her arm up from her side with her elbow still extended.